Hey there, how's it going? Yeah, we just had another storm that came through. Oh, I'm not the first person to come to your door. You'd be surprised how many times I get that reaction. So, today's video I want to discuss why are people knocking my door? So, there is a major storm event, a hurricane, or a tornado, hail, then it's pretty obvious why people are coming to knock on your door. It's going to be sporadic damage all over the place. There's going to be an exorbitant amount of people. And to be quite frank, I've experienced this time and time again, even when I'm working a couple hours out of my local area. The local guys just can't keep up with the volume like that. And sometimes you may have to use a contractor that is a couple hours away. Not saying if I live in Georgia, you should use somebody out from Texas. That's a lot of risk on your end. That's something, a decision you can make. There's great companies everywhere, and there's also bad companies everywhere. Bad companies that may work in your same area. Something like that, it may be a little bit different. However, if it's been 6-7 months since anything's happened, maybe there was a smaller event, you saw maybe pea-sized hail, you maybe had some straight line winds, and you're just thinking, why are all these people knocking on my door? I don't see any visible damage. Let me explain to you the few things, if not several things, of why I, myself, and others may come knock on your door. So, if you're new to a home, and let's say you haven't lived there for an extended period of time and you don't know how old your roof is, a couple ways you could tell if a roof is aging heavily, which is what, to be blunt with you, is what most roofers and other contractors who go door to door are going to be looking for. They're going to be looking for an older roof that is 100% more susceptible to smaller damages, as far as like smaller hail. An older 3-tab style shingle is going to have, it's going to be a lot more susceptible to wind damage, even of a little bit of lower speeds. The shingles just start to break down over time. So why are they targeting your home? Because you may be showing signs of aging. So granule loss is a really big sign of aging. This can be happening to you for multiple reasons. It could be poor ventilation, which is another whole nother video I'll get into later. But essentially, if your attic isn't breathing properly, that's going to greatly shorten the lifespan of your roof. Not only that, just over time, the granules are going to pop off. We get a lot of storms here in Georgia. We get a lot of heavy rains that are going to wash them off. And one of the ways you can tell ahead of time, if you can't see the discoloration of the shingles, is check the bottoms of your downspouts periodically. See if after a hard rain or after a recent storm you start seeing piles of granules at the bottom. That's a good sign the roof is probably nearing the end of its lifespan or it's aging faster than normal. Also, if you ever get your gutters clean, check the bottom of your gutters. If there's piles of granules in there, then that means the shingles are unprotected, because the granules that rest on the fiberglass matting, they're there to protect the fiberglass matting. Once that's exposed, you're wide open to the elements. Not saying it's going to leak, but it's going to break down a heck of a lot faster. Also, if you didn't know, it's an asphalt fiberglass matting. So, on a much older roof, you can actually see this. If you look at it at certain angles in the sun, you'll see a kind of shimmer on the edges of your shingles. That's another sign that they may be aging. Another really great way to tell that if your roof is aging is, before about 5 years ago, a lot of these shingle manufacturers didn't have extended algae protections on them. Now a lot of them come with lifetimes, like the Atlas shingle we sell. A lot of them come with 25-year, 20-year algae protection. The old architectural style shingles have even... So if a roof is older than about 10 years old, and if it's a 3-tab, sometimes even older than 7 years old, it's going to start to grow a lot of algae on it. That algae is essentially like moss on a rock. It's going to start on the north-facing slope. It's going to slowly creep its way all the way around, because that's where you get the least amount of sun. Direction of the home plays a big part in this, or if you're located next to the lake or some body of water, or if you're sitting under shade under a tree, it's going to greatly exponentially increase the rate of which algae grows on the home. If somebody sees that your roof is covered in algae, that's another sign that it's getting older. That's how we can tell. Also, one code item that's becoming much more prevalent, because it's been a code item for almost, I would say, 11 or 12 years now, is something called drip edge. I'm going to put a picture on the screen, that way you know exactly what drip edge is, but it's essentially an L piece of metal that closes the gap between your roof decking stops and your fascia board begins. A lot of purposes, that's its main function. Helps protect against wind-driven rain, and it also keeps a nice edge on the shingles, that way you don't have to have them hang like 3 inches over like people used to do to kind of protect that gap. If you don't have drip edge on there, that's a pretty good sign that your roof may be older than 10 or 11 years old. Does an aging roof need to be replaced? That 100% depends on the current condition of it overall. If it has sporadic storm damage, it may need to be replaced. If it's at the end of its lifespan where there's no more granules on there and it's just past the point of saving, that means it may be time to get it replaced. Or if you're just having sporadic repairs, just one problem after another, something called sliding where the shingles are starting to delaminate and fall from the roof, if it's happening in one area, there's a good chance it could be happening in another area. So those are all the different things that we kind of look for to see if it's not only time to replace the roof, but also which doors am I going to go knock. The video kind of helps explain why are so many people knocking at my door. This is something you can kind of help avoid with additional no soliciting signs on the front of your door. I personally like the handwritten note. That goes a long way. Or wink wink, tell everybody you're a renter. They know they won't get anywhere with those. Well, hope this video helps you guys a lot. Good luck out there.